Yeah, shoppable media, as you said, shoppable media is hot. It's one of the hottest things. I think that's where a lot of the commerce growth is going to come from in the next couple of years, is going to be through shoppable media. And when you look at social commerce, I think it's already pacing ahead of where it was predicted. And shoppable media and social commerce, people will throw those two names around, those two things around. They're not exactly the same. I mean, shoppable media is more about the content and the mechanism and the pathway to the purchase. It's about empowering consumers to shop or facilitating that shopper experience. And it's one part of social commerce. Social commerce is sort of that larger construct. Social commerce is really just simply the buying and selling of products across a social media platform. And so there's people like TikTok and Snap that are really starting to get into that shoppable media game. I just attended the New Fronts for this week for Snap. And they're really much more now than just a camera communications app, which is what they've kind of been known for. Their bread and butter of different AR lenses, and they're really more than that. They're becoming more of like a media content hub. And I think what you're going to find is that the more content that gets consumed across platforms like Snap, the more brands are going to have points of interjection that they're able to have more personalized experiences for the customer that's more authentic in those platforms.
So Jill, tell us about the scope of retail media, and some people think it's just these bigger, the sort of limited number of retail media. There's retail media networks, but then smaller retailers can get involved, and they are getting involved. How does the playing field get sort of evened out, if you will? So smaller retailers and maybe brands with not huge investment dollars can be successful in commerce.
Yeah, the space is changing. The retail media network space is changing. So I worked 5 years for one of the retail media networks. I've mainly been on the agency side, but I took a break from the agencies and spent 5 years at one of the retail media networks 9 years ago. And that 9 years ago, retail media was at its infancy. There was very few retailers doing this. Amazon was one of them. Walmart had a company. They were using a triad platform. And then I worked at a company called My Web Grocer. And My Web Grocer really's job was to be a platform. They were similar to what Citrus Ad is today, or what Criteo is today, where they go out and they sign up the smaller retailers. These retailers couldn't have built their own platforms themselves, so they really needed someone to give them that leg up. And My Web Grocer was able to come in with already a platform that they had. They had people to measure the data and help them with audiences and all of those things. And I think that's what helped some of the smaller guys be able to perform e-commerce already. And now that the budgets have changed and the measurement and the data and all the different ad formats, they now aren't just search and display formats anymore. When I was out doing pitches to agencies and to brands, my pitch deck was like 8 slides long because it really had one slide on search and one slide on-site display. Today, retail media platforms now have social integrations. They're doing more video. They're tying the offline to the online, where you're now able to do programmatic display and tie that into a cooler screen that's inside of the store. So they've really come a long way in terms of their proliferation in the ad network and being able to have the right to go out and ask for more of those full funnel dollars that they're getting today.
So Jill, speaking from the agency side, what do you want to have from either the platforms or the tech providers, the data firms? What would help you do your job more efficiently?
Yeah, I think data is the name of the game. The more that personalization is important to our brands and to our clients, and to be able to reach them more in that one-on-one space, and to eliminate waste in media, we really need that personalization. And in order to have that, we really need data. And so whether that's taking the client's data, their 1P data, taking the data that we own. So at Publicis, we're lucky to own Epsilon, which is consumer data, and then being able to have the retailers' data. We would also prefer API feeds into their data APIs or product APIs. Now that we bought Profitero, we've always had our own consumer intelligence platform where we can go out and you can scrape and you can have bots and things that go through people's retailers' PDPs. But to really have an API connection for product data is really going to help us kind of reach the people, the product, the placement, the platform. So it's kind of the new 4 Ps of personalization that is going to be able to, if we unify all of those things, it's going to help us build more personalized experiences for our clients and really eliminate waste. And so I think data is one of the biggest things that we as a holding company are looking for from our retailer relationships. It's more than just negotiating on ad rates. Like, we really want to be a better partner, because the more that we can do that, the more sales they're gonna get as well. So it's a little bit of a win-win.
So Jill, let's talk about the creative side of commerce and sort of the importance of that. And of course, we are in the lead up to Cannes, and there'll be a lot of conversations. Yeah. How does commerce and creativity fit together? How should it fit together?
Yeah, I love creative. While I'm on the media side, I tend to look at more charts and spreadsheets, but I definitely have a full appreciation for a great creative. And frankly, media and creative, it goes hand in hand. I can do an excellent media plan, I can execute it to the fullest, and if you don't really have good creative, solid creative, strong creative that is relevant, then the media plans can really start to fall flat. So we work really closely with our creative agencies to make sure that our commerce creative is really impactful. But I think when people think of creative, they think of those big Super Bowl ads, big 60-second spots, Cannes winner, when you go to Cannes and win your creative awards. And it doesn't, necessarily have to always be that. And I'm thrilled that Cannes has actually gotten into different categories. There's now a commerce category at Cannes, so thrilled to see that. And some of that work is great. I know last year, I think AB InBev was the winner of one of the commerce awards, and they did some really great stuff there. But when I start thinking about creative for commerce, it doesn't always have to be that sexy and fancy. It can really be creative that works and that drives sales. And a lot of the retail media platforms are getting into more testing of creative. They have creative where it's more dynamic. So dynamic creative, Amazon has their DEA ads or their rec ads. And what that is really just pulling in, knowing who the audience is and what their past purchase behavior is, and pulling in different things and serving up SKUs that shopper is going to want, that it increases the clickability of that ad. Maybe it pulls in a coupon if that's something, if price is a sensitivity issue for that type of shopper. Albertsons and other retailers have what they call price and item ad, where they're pulling in the SKU and the price in different regional areas. So it might be I live in New York, it might be a different price for me versus pulling in, what that SKU is, and maybe it's a different flavor profile in different places. So making them really more customizable and unique is a way that they're doing that. Facebook is really getting into a lot of that, where they have some commerce ads as well. They're called dynamic creative ads, and they're pulling in, you're able to give Facebook like 10 images for a brand, and you're able to give them different calls to action. You're able to give them different headlines and body copy. And then as they find an audience, they go into that database and they pull out a different image, a different headline, and it can give you hundreds of different ads immediately that you can serve up and just be more relevant. So I think that's kind of some cool stuff happening in commerce for creative.